New research about the biology of aging is now coming in pretty fast and furious, and mostly it's because there are now more active older adults than ever before. We no longer think that more is possible. We now know it. Researchers aren't dealing with theory. They are simply observing fact. What has been proven is that the so-called normal trajectories of age-related physical decline are not predestined. They're not inevitable, and they are not unavoidable. We now know that physical slowing and declines in muscle mass and bone density are due, at least in part, to a lack of exercise, period. And that's good news for everybody. It's great news for those of us who are over 50, 70, and even 90, because it's been proven that you are never too old to reap the benefits of physical activity. So I guess the question is, why don't more of us get off the couch and get into life as we age? And one reason is that the message that more is possible really hasn't gotten through to us because our ageist culture, our ageist media is pretty much whispering to us 24/7 that there are many things we shouldn't be doing. There are many things that we are incapable of doing. But it only takes one relatable, believable example to disprove the ageist lies. And one of those examples is Kittie Weston-Knauer. Kittie is the oldest female BMX racer in the country, most likely in the world. She is a trendsetter, a pioneering legend in the sport of BMX, and her example has opened up the sport to girls and women of all ages. And as she zeroes in on her 76th birthday, she is still aggressively pedaling down a path that she has blazed for herself and for others. And joining us now from her RV somewhere in Shreveport, Louisiana, far from her home in Des Moines, Iowa, is the godmother of BMX racing, also known as BMX Mama and Miss Kittie. Welcome, Kittie Weston-Knauer. Kittie, how you doing today?
It's wonderful. It truly is wonderful. I'm traveling all over the country, racing my bicycle still, and just meeting a lot of women, especially girls and women. Now, I do meet lots of men, but girls and women especially, because I want them to understand, you know what? This is something that you can do at any time and all of the time. BMX is an ageless sport. And I can attest to that because it's 75, going on 76. I'm still at it. Bike number 2, Gold Cup number 2, I earned last year. I worked hard to earn this. I'm racing women who are much, much younger than me. My class on this bike, 51 and over women's class.
Wow.
So,
Hey, I want to learn more about that, but just so we don't leave anybody behind, if you will, for those who don't understand what BMX racing is, I think we get the idea it's on a bike, but give us, a short description of what BMX racing is.
BMX racing is it's a bicycle motocross is what it is. There's no the motor is your human body, okay, your legs especially. So I am racing my bicycle on a course, typically it can be anywhere from 500 feet to 1,800. As a matter of fact, there is a track in Tulsa that's a quarter mile long. Okay. So that's the length of the track. This track and all other tracks will have certain obstacles on it. There will be, you come out of a gate. All right. You will go down a hill. The hill can be large or small. And then you can hit a roller. You can hit a step up to a downhill. You can hit triples. You can go through a whole set of rollers throughout the course. There typically will be 3 turns on a BMX track. Okay. And as you make your way on first, and then around the first turn, and then into the second straight, around the second turn, into the third straight, and then you make that third turn, which takes you home. So it's a dirt track. It tends to have nowadays banked turns. I mean, the turns are banked, but there may be asphalted or cement. The starting gate will typically be on a pad, a cement pad. Um, and people have BMX tracks all over the country. I just completed a race in West Monroe, Louisiana on Saturday. Now, this was a completely dirt track. No asphalt, no cement, all dirt.
So that's great. Now we know what it is. So let's talk about your experience with BMX, because as I understand it, Kittie, you never rode a BMX bike. You never even thought about it until you were about to turn 40 years old. How did you get involved?
Well, my husband and son had been racing BMX bikes for several years. Um, I am an educator by nature, and I have coaching credentials for basketball, softball, and track. Now, of course, I thought I knew what I was talking about. After all, I had also been racing road bike and mountain bike. Okay. But let me tell you something. BMX is a whole nother ball game. My son, who has now turned 11, said to me, "You know, Mom, if you think this is so easy, why don't you try it?" Mother's Day of 88, I got on little Max's little 20-inch bike, mind you. I put on his helmet, which was too small for my head. I had a huge afro. I'm squishing that on my head. I put on his little bitty gloves on my hands, and I got out there with the other mothers. It was a Mother's Day race. Now, didn't necessarily finish first. I finished though, and I wound up with a whole new respect for this sport of BMX. I have been doing it ever since.
And you have helped change the sport as you've done it. But when you got started back in the day, as I understand it, there were no women's divisions, so you had to race against the men. How did that go? Did they accept you? Were they bothered by that?
And let me explain. There was a girls' division, and typically those girls only raced up to age 18 or when they graduated from high school. There was no women's cruiser class, though. There was a men's cruiser class, and they actually raced by 5-year age increments. So here I am going on 40. My husband is already racing. So we wound up racing in the same age classes until the 90s. And did the men like it? Some didn't, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I'm a very competitive person. I grew up with 5 brothers, and let me tell you something. I wasn't the oldest. Anything my brothers could do, I had to do better. I just had to. And the same was with BMX, with cycling. And so I trained, I worked out. The nice thing about it was my son was there to give pointers. Here's his mother getting pointers from her son. Best thing in the world. And so as time went on, I started encouraging other women because they were standing all along the fence. And I'm going, "You're here with the kid." "Yeah, and I'd love to do that, but I'm not going to get out there with those men." So I continued to race with the men.
You know what, Miss Kittie, I get the sense that there's no one exactly like you, but I have to tell you, we've talked to a lot of people similar to you, older adults in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s who are very, very successful at different kinds of things. And it seems like the story of active aging is always a story of determination, of resilience, of continually bouncing back from setback. And you have had your share, a couple in particular. Let's go back to when you were 44 years old. You took a bad tumble on your bike. You broke your neck, and surgeons were not encouraging, were they?
No, it was a C4-5 cord syndrome. Okay. I was totally paralyzed. I was told, and this did not happen in my home city of Des Moines. I was in another city. And I was told that, Kittie, you may never race again because you're not going to necessarily regain full use of your arms and legs. And I'm thinking to myself, "These people getting off, you not going to get back." I was transported back to Des Moines, successful surgery. As a matter of fact, when the doctor came in to see me that Friday morning, he was kind of shocked. You standing up?" "Yes, I am standing up." "Okay." Um, One of the things I was able to do as a result of this accident, one, I told the surgeon, I'm going to walk out of this hospital. I did do that. The second thing was I was going to get back to the physical shape I was in before I had the accident. And the third thing I was going to do was I was going to use this accident, all the hard work I went through in terms of recovery, uh, to let my students know and realize you never ever let anyone tell you you can't do something or that you won't be able to unless you work at it. And that's what I did. It was 2 years before I could feel the bottoms of my feet. But I tell you what, within 6 months I was back to racing again.
And on you went. But let's jump forward 20 years or so, because now at 65 years old, you've got osteoarthritis so bad. You're in debilitating pain that you had to have both of your hips and both of your knees replaced within a 1 year period. How in the heck do you come back from that to be a BMX champion?
Once again, I had a superb surgeon who believed in what I was doing. Okay. And what he said was, Kittie, we're going to do those hips first. And then we're going to do those knees. And in between my hip surgeries and my knee surgeries, they were a year apart, I was racing again. With my hips, I was back within 6 weeks of racing. Okay. I was on my bike in 9 days, but 6 weeks. In terms of my knees, it took just a little longer because the knees were done in December. But in April, I was back to racing again.
Why do you keep going? What does it do for you?
Oh, why does one continue to live? I would ask. You know, I've been very fortunate in terms of being able to, I have these issues. I have this arthritis. It's not going anywhere. Arthur messes with you all the time. I mean, my hands are horrible, and you need the hands to grip the handlebars, okay? But I'm not going to let something like that stop what I am doing. I haven't just been riding my bike, but I have also been encouraging women wherever I go. Come on out, have a good time. Or better still, women have been coming to me. Women have been texting me. Women have been emailing me. How do I get to do what you're doing? The other thing I do is, as I go around the country, I am working with groups of women and girls, especially, having these conversations, being at their tracks and talking about what it is you can do here at your own track. The other thing is we all have something in our lives that could slow us down if we allowed it to. And honey, I am not about to let something like this slow me down. Under no circumstances will I allow that to happen.
Can you describe the joy that you get out of racing, out of socializing, out of being an advocate for change?
There are some things that I learned as I learned as a little girl growing up. And I'll tell you this. My parents were good at saying, Kittie, life is not about me, speaking to myself. It is about the we and the thee. Okay? The other thing my mother always said to me, never ever let anyone steal your joy. You decide what your joy is, but you never ever let anyone steal it. And so, taking these two, and these are two mantras I refer to all of the time. I have dedicated my life, even as an educator, I did, but even in retirement, I've been dedicating my life to continuing to get more girls and women into the sport of BMX. And I always say to them, you can just do this casually. You can do it locally. If you want to progress beyond that, you can do that also. There are hundreds of tracks all over this country where you can get out there and do your thing. The other thing I also tell them to go along with it, because they're naysayers. Naysayers are all around you. And that's why I say you never, ever let anyone steal your joy. Because for me, this is joyful. The other side of the coin is this. I would never be able to continue to race if I hadn't have great medical support for what I am doing. And I continue to have that. That's the beauty of it. And so if this is something you truly enjoy doing, go for it. And don't let anyone say to you, you can't or you shouldn't or I don't want you to. And for women, that is especially true because they have their partners, their mates, their parents. Oh, that's for boy. I don't know nothing about that. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I could out-hoop my brothers any day of the week. And when it comes to cycling, great at it. I love it. I enjoy it. I'm not the fastest on the track anymore, but that's understandable. My class bike for ages 51 and over women, my cruiser, 56 and over women, and I'm, of course, the oldest in both of those classes. But it's joy, pure joy that it brings to me.
Let me ask you this, because now you are not just the only woman in your sport for some time. You were the only Black woman, at least the only older Black woman, and you wanted to change that as well. So tell us about Black Girls Do Bike, because I know it's another one of the organizations that you're active in.
That I'm affiliated with. Definitely. One of the things that I have found as I have continued in cycling, and believe you me, I was cycling before I was BMX racing, okay? And it was just me out there. I did not see me out there other than me. And so I have met other women, and the young lady in particular, who is the founder of Black Girls Do Bike, I met at a BMX race in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Oh my goodness gracious, that would have been almost 10 years ago. And she said, I have heard about you and I've heard about what you've been doing. I have this organization and I too, and she was a much younger woman. She's trying to get women into cycling. She has, and I am a member of our chapter in Des Moines, Iowa of Black Girls Do Bike. However, I have not been able to get the women in Des Moines to come to the BMX track. I'm working on that. I have a project that will happen in May where I am going to be inviting them. But even to this day, I think African-American females, there may be 5 in the country at the most, maybe. Of course, they're all younger. We do have girls. Those numbers are small also. And for some reason, cycling is not a sport that they tend to gravitate to. And I'm still working at it, and I will continue to work at it wherever I go.
So other than the physical benefits, which are obvious, talk to us about the cognitive benefits, if you will, because you obviously are sharp as a tack. What have you found out about BMX racing that supports you, mentally as well?
The more you know, the more you want to learn and know. Okay? I'm still learning. I love being around the younger racers, be they male or female, because I ask questions of them. I engage in activity with them at the BMX track. You would be surprised the learning that takes place when you are with younger participants, because they will come up to you and let you know, oh, hey, Miss Kittie, you doing great. I enjoy your being out there. Oh, Miss Kittie, you know what? You are very impressive and make me want to, because here's what I want. You don't start and stop. This is not something you want to start and stop. This is something you want to continue to do. Cognitively, we need to understand that we are eternal learners. Okay? And so When my nose is not in many of my books that I bring with me, if I'm not researching, because I do research, I want to know about the health. I want to know about what I should be doing nutritionally. Yes, I may have arthritis, but I don't let that get in the way. My hands are a constant reminder. This is every day of the week. I had my second back surgery the, the last Tuesday of November in 2023. I went back to riding again the last weekend of January. Back to racing again. Um, it's a matter of you making some decisions about yourself. What are you going to do to continue to be healthy? That also means cognitively, because if you do those kinds of things, then that cognitive piece will remain there. Now, trust me, I do understand about dementia. I do understand about Alzheimer's. That's in my family. But I'm going to be running from it for as long as I can. And I will be doing it on my bicycles.
So give us, if you will, the Miss Kittie takeaway in the big picture, and maybe take BMX out of it altogether. But what should we know about life in general that you have learned? What's the message you'd like to share with everybody just about living a big, bold, meaningful, joyful life?
Yes, there are two very important mantras that go with me wherever I go throughout this country. Um, one of them being that my life is not about me. My life is about we and thee, and I want to make sure I am sharing that with others. I have been doing it forever and a day, okay? And the other one being never ever let anyone steal your joy. What brings you joy to you? And it's not the same for everyone, but for me, joy is not just racing my bicycles, but I have other bikes that I love to ride, and just riding and being out there and sharing that love of cycling with others. You know, we now have youth as young as 1.5 and older who are now out there racing. Our little wee ones are riding the Striders. They progress to riding the BMX size bikes that are made for them. And so in this case, you find something that has great meaning in your life that you can share with someone else. Go for it. Don't let anyone tell you you can't.
And one of the strengths that we get as we get older, is born of resilience. The fact that we know we can bounce back, something you certainly know. So let me ask you this. You're about to turn 76. Look ahead 10 years if you can, and tell us what kind of life you expect to be leading at 86.
This is interesting. I've ordered an adult size tricycle, geared tricycle. Uh, it is going to be an e-trike. I have an e-bike and I ride it. But here's something I know. I know there's going to come a point in time when I will not be able to race BMX, but that is not going to stop me from cycling. So I'm going to have my e-trike, and this sister is going to be riding all over Kingdom Come.
I love that. And finally, since you mentioned your diet, I know you ride the bike, and that takes a little bit of everything. But what else do you do in terms of nutrition and fitness to support the kind of lifestyle that you obviously lead?
It is important that you get to know your body. That's number one. Being sedentary and eating anything you want is not good for the body. It's not good for the human body. Let's just be honest about that. As I have aged, I have become gluten intolerant, and also I can't drink milk anymore. I don't get to eat regular ice cream anymore, and those are things I love. So I have gone back and taken a look at what is healthy for me. And I'm not looking at quote dieting. I've not had the issue of having to diet because I've been very active with my bicycling. Okay. But one of the things I know is I need to make sure I am eating those foods that agree with my system, that will continue to support my health and well-being. People will ask, well, what do you eat? That's not it. Let's sit and talk about what you are eating, and is that agreeing with you? And by agreeing, it helps you to maintain your strength, your well-being, your stamina, your ability to get out and do whatever it is you want to do. Fresh fruits, vegetables that you can tolerate, protein, and more protein.
Many older adults lose their voice, and I mean that figuratively, as they get older, and they still have something to say, something to share. It's obvious, Miss Kittie, that you've not lost your voice. You take great pride in being able to continue to give back. And what I haven't mentioned is you're a former teacher and assistant principal and principal. You've won every kind of civic award that there is. You've been an advocate, an activist in your community in Des Moines, in just about anything and everything. You enjoy being a role model, being an example. Tell us what you get out of still having a voice and not becoming irrelevant and insignificant in your mid-70s.
The thing of it is, and one, you hit the nail on the head, is my continued involvement in Des Moines. And I've been doing that since I came in 1966 and went to Drake University. Okay. Once again, I will say it. Life is not about me. It is about the we and the thee. And what am I going to be able to continue to do in my life, even into my 80s, that will make a difference for my community? Okay. I'm going to be okay. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to be okay. I'm in a position where I get to do whatever pleases Miss Kittie. Okay. But it's about looking down the road into the future. How am I impacting those who are following? And I want to make sure that those who follow understand that they too must be in a position where they are giving back. I don't look for accolades and awards. I have them, yes. But what is important is that I continue to be a good citizen, a good person within my community who's helping to make a difference for others. And know that is happening. I can see it. I mean, I can look behind me, and behind me means in my past, to see and know the things that I have done that have made a difference in the lives of thousands, and I say thousands of people. And as best I can, I am going to continue to do that. But also know there's going to be joy in whatever it is I'm doing.
Amen. Kittie Weston-Knauer, thank you so much. I mean, folks, this is a woman who found her passion in BMX racing for decades. She has brought that same joy, that same passion to thousands of girls. She's taken girls and women along for the ride in her sport of BMX. Kittie, thank you so much for your time, and we will certainly be following your racing escapades in the years ahead. Keep it up.
I will. You better believe it.